Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn. Okay, welcome everybody. So I want to start by saying that today's a special night. First of all, or today was a special day, Rosh Chodesh. And the general consensus when we're not serving dinner is that Living Chassidus starts on time. So just for the future, know that we do generally start on time. We just are serving dinner, so we want to give everyone time to eat and schmooze and get to spend quality time with each other. It's been a long summer, and I'm sure people are trying to catch up with friends. So a general introduction. Am I in it? Whoever can see me? Yes? Okay, great. Good catch. Give me 1 second.
Is there a way to make it lower so that we could at least see you?
Yeah, give me a second. Oh, I can't because there's only the bit on there. Okay, well, this will be what it'll have to be because I can't spotlight just yet. I have to wait for one more person. When you guys see one more person join, let me know and then I'll spotlight. Okay. Okay, this for everyone to see. As soon as we get. Okay, so a general introduction. This is actually the anniversary for a lot of people that joined Living Chassidus over the years, because our kickoff for systematic Avodah initiative for Elul and Tishrei is usually the time when people get to meet Living Chassidus when they just moved to Crown Heights or they've lived in Crown Heights. And this is when they get to know that we exist and that we're here and we do really cool programs, and you're all welcome to join all of them. So Living Chassidus started 9 years ago. It was my birthday for Ringen, and I saw a lot of my friends from seminary or post-seminary kind of falling through the cracks. There wasn't really Farbrengens for them. There weren't really programs for them. They kept asking like, oh, what should we do about Shabbos? Because it's impossible to find Shabbos meals. I mean, who didn't have a hard time finding a Shabbos meal over the summer? I know many people who asked me, and I was out of town. So we decided, and it was very unofficial. We just started making a shir and making programs here and there. And then slowly but surely, as much as we tried to go out on shlichus, the Rebbe gave us a very clear, very, very clear message that our shlichus is actually here. We tried to go to 3 different locations, one of which was actually Australia. We were like on our way basically, and everything kept falling through. We went to the aisle, wrote in, Rebbe, we want to go on your shlichus. What are we meant to do? And that's when I came out. And on the video, I wish I had the exact video, but on the video, the Rebbe was saying, your shlichus is exactly where you are. And I said, okay, that was it. On our first day, we had discussed how much we don't like Crown Heights and how we'd never live here, but never say never. So here we are, Baruch Hashem, we found our shlichus here. So we actually have a center on Eastern Parkway, 715 Eastern Parkway. We have a really, really beautiful basement. And that's where generally we have at least 1 or 2 programs a week. So you guys are all invited, depending on what is the season. We have different times for different seasons. So we actually over the summer just finished learning Yiddish. We did a Yiddish course, beginner's course. We also did a book club. So you guys are welcome. We are hoping to do that again, Mirz Hashem. And the big topic for this upcoming time period is one of our most famous programs, which is called Systematic Avodah Initiative. So the reason why we called it this is because many people have seen this book or many other of Rabbi Jacobson's books. And I think the first year we tried reading it, it was like, okay, very nice. I think we barely made it to Rosh Hashanah. It's one day, it's every single day there's 1 page of reading. Like this is the reading for one day, then the next day you turn, that's the reading for the next day. But if you don't have a group setting and you don't have Farbrengens and you don't have the excitement, sometimes it fizzles out. So the next year we added Farbrengens. And then I think we made it till Yom Kippur. And then the next year we added, I think it was prizes. And then we finally made it all the way through and past Sukkot, Simchas Torah, and Shmini Atzeres. So that was the birth of our program. And the reason why it's systematic, Avodah Initiative, is because it's a systematic program. Every single day, there's one page of reading. You can do it on your own time. We are not here to babysit you. You guys are adults. We're not, in school anymore. But you're actually taking the time to really work on yourselves and do Avodah. Because I don't know, you guys can raise your hand, but how many of you have been through Elul and you're like, oh, it's Elul, I should get inspired. Oh, it's Elul, I should really learn something. Oh, it's Elul, I should do tshuva, and it's like, Rosh Hashanah comes, how much did we really do? How much did we really not do? So we decided that we're gonna make a program that's gonna make it tangible, day by day, a little tiny bit of reading that gets you inspired, that gets you working on yourself, that gets you to really do the growth that you want to do, and we just make it easy and enjoyable. So the next part of this program is not just the reading. We provide you with a journal. So every person that signs up, you guys get a journal and you get the coolest, best pen in the world. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. Everybody loves this pen. It's just really good ink. So enjoy. And the way that it works is that you're reading every single day, and then at least once a week, a journal entry. You do not have to share with anyone. It is yours between you and Hashem, and all you need to do is actually do it. Every other week, Be'ezus Hashem, we have an incredible lineup of speakers. As of now, we have Rabbi Paltiel, we have Mrs. Rachi Pinson, Metz Hashem, we're gonna have Shane D. Jacobson, She's Taub. We're working on some wonderful names. Be'ezus Hashem, they should all work out, and no schedules should change, but this is the lineup so far, so you have an idea. And at that Farbrengen, for every person that did their reading and at least one journal a week, we actually give incredible gifts. So we want to bring your Nefesh Elokis and entice the Nefesh Bahamas. So over the past, we've given sets of Svarim. We have given jewelry. We have given gift cards to Sushi Spot. We have given, I don't know if you guys can see it, if somebody wants to lift it up, a bencher holder. You keep it in your house and you put all your benchers. What are other ones? We've given jewelry, Bluetooth speaker, tzedakah pouches, pushkas. Yes, the match tray. We also gave a matchbox. We've given bracelets and necklaces, and we go all out, and we want to treat you guys, and we want to make sure that this program is exciting, begashmis and baruchnis. So that is the gist of the program. I organized the time so that we actually have about 10 minutes. So Be'ezus Hashem, if everybody, wait 1 second. Let me say one more piece. This program, this is our 7th year doing it. So there are some people, Baruch Hashem K'nai Nahara, and I give a shout out to each and every one of them, that have done this for 7 years, every single year. So for those people, me included, we decided to add a little pizzazz. We decided to make the program a little more interesting, because I've read this book 7 times in a row, and it's getting there. So we actually, a huge, gigantic shout out to Ruta Cohen. She deserves major work. The two of us, we spent basically the entire summer revamping and renovating all the questions. So each of the questions, we took it one step deeper. So at the journal questions, we made it more practical and more relevant and just a little more enticing. And we also added additional readings. So if today you've read this and you read this for the 7th time in a row and you're sick and tired of it and you want something a little different, so we added additional readings for that week that you can read it. It has a question as well, and that could be your reading for the day. So every week, has a different theme, and we made it as beautiful and exciting as possible. Thank you. I worked really hard. Baruch Hashem. Yes, it is a lot of pride because we worked really hard on this, Baruch Hashem. So that is an added plus if you would like it, but it's not a must for the program. So that said, for everybody here, let's get started on an amazing foot. The beginning of the 60 days book has a page which really gets you started on your cheshbon nefesh. So it's for all those cool Greek peeps, it's XXI. Yeah, get excited. And everybody who has a journal, you can actually open up your journal and open up your book. We're gonna take a few minutes just to get started, just so you guys already have done everything that you need to do to start the program on the best foot. Okay, so the way that it works, you will split your journal as you see on my page. So you have one column. So each page is basically split into, but this one I try not to do all the way in the middle because here is just going to be a title and here you can actually fill it up. So one column, then a larger column, and then this one I try to split in the middle. And then each of them, so the first one you're going to leave empty. I'm going to fill it out in a second. But you write between me and Hashem. Then the next one, and all the directions, if you want to do it on your own, is XXI. It's the green page on the 60 days book. The next section is between me and others. And then the last section is between me and myself. And I'm going to give you guys a few seconds and I'm going to do the next. Okay, and then you'll split on the way down. So there's columns and then there's rows. You'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't do it exactly, but you guys can do it better. And then the first one is intellectual, then emotional, action, and other. If you've ever thought that you're really going to take a cheshbon nefesh and Elul, this is the way to do it. It really gets to your kishkas. And now we're going to take a few minutes because our speaker is going to come Be'ezus Hashem very soon. Yes, it's also in the book, but it's here you can see it visually. The book they just explain it to you verbally or whatever written, but they don't show you what it's meant to look like. So now you can take a few seconds or a few minutes because he's about to show up, where you get to write which aspects you would like to grow in, which aspects you would like to, work on. What are some things that could improve between you and others, the way you think? So for example, intellectual, a good example of that. Intellectual between you and Hashem. So the way they translate it here is Torah, because Torah uses our intellect. So what are some things that I can do intellectually? How much Torah learning can I add? Or what's something that I can change in the way I think about Hashem? Like for example, I don't know if you guys, I didn't really explain it this time, but if you've seen our logo, it has glasses and it has Hey, and then Hashem Echad coming down. So the idea of our logo, here's the bigger. The idea of our logo is that when we learn Torah, especially when we learn Chassidus, we learn to see the world through Hashem glasses. We realize that the world isn't exactly what we see it to be, but we can learn Torah, and through that Torah, so for example, Bitachon, Emunah, that type of mentality, Simcha, we can learn to see the world through Hashem's perspective. So that could be an intellectual thing. What's something that you can think about throughout the day, or what's Torah that you can learn, where it's Shar Bitachon, whether it's Chassidus, a Maimer. What's something that you can do intellectually between you and others? How can you think about people more positively? How can you give them more of a chance? Something like that. And then between you and yourself, what can you do intellectually between you and yourself? How can you think about yourself in a better way? How can you change your self-talk or any of those things? So then you go through it, each of them, slowly but surely. And I'll tell you, for people that have done it for years and years and years, amazing. Yes, that's our goal, Bainanim. No, but really, you get to see the growth. How many times have you made a achlata and like it just kind of became part of your routine, and you never celebrated the fact that you didn't used to do this? Like, I didn't used to, I don't know, daven this much, or I didn't used to daven mincha, or I didn't used to, it just became part of the routine. But what I've done, and I've seen a lot of my friends who've done this program for a few years, is that they go back either on the previous year and say, wow, okay, there are things that I've worked on that I succeeded at, or there's things that I worked on I'm still working on. I'm still trying to, get that, whatever it is. So you get to really have a tangible record of your progress, of your tshuva, of your growth. And then you can take it year by year and see how much you've changed. I actually did it one year. I went through all my journals and I said, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm a different person. But I just in my own head, so I don't realize the growth, but it's a really powerful system. So even if you didn't join the program, you could totally do this at home and just enjoy it and take it and take your Elul and take your Tishrei and keep looking at it. Say, how can I turn back to this and grow some more and grow some more? And so this is what we're doing right now. And then Mitzvah Hashem, he's about to come according to our time. And we'll begin. So you guys have a few minutes to work on that until Rabbi Paltiel comes. Oh yeah, and we'll also be sending out a calendar of all of the Farangans. As of now, we have, I think they're all set on the date. Not every speaker has confirmed, but the date is set, so you guys can put it in your calendar and join us for it. That's Hashem.
No, the Rebbe used to leaf with him. He saw every word. I'm leafing through it, so it looks like I'm looking at it. Me and the Rebbe, just. Okay. So you want to get this wire? Okay. I'm putting on my own recorder. Well, they say kol masecha b'sefer nechtav. Everything you do in today's world, especially written in a book. I figure if I record it for myself, maybe be a little less bad, Okay, let's just do this. Okay, hello everybody. Everybody, do I know you?
No.
Do I? Felix and Talmud, you're the youngest person here. There's no minimum age, what? I don't understand. They don't look under 16 to let people come. I'm teasing you. I said there's no minimum age. There's no minimum age. As long as you hang out with young people, you're young. That's how it works. Baruch Hashem. Yeah, you're just newly married. Baruch Hashem. I'm saying it out of pure love. Good. Nice to have you. Thank you very much. Yeah, you got it. Okay, now.
And if you need this on,
I need this way.
Oh, yes. You don't have to switch it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But this I know how to do. It's not the only thing I know how to do. Okay.
And then this is on if you need it, but I think they can probably hear it.
This is on with me. It means what? It's you want me to have it live?
Meaning if you feel that they can't hear you, you can speak into the mic.
What? Okay, that's my sense of humor. What are you gonna do? Okay, good. Okay, we're good. If you can't hear me, complain. I'll put the mic closer to me. Okay, shalom aleichem, everybody. Hello. And I have been invited to participate in an absolutely incredible new concept. It's not so new, right? It's new to me. It's called Living Hasidus. Apparently, it's been going on for years. And I'm launching the new year. Isn't that exciting? It's exciting for you. I hope it's exciting for me. I actually say, I hope my launching it is exciting to you. So I get to start off the new year, a project of people learning Chassidus, not just coming and listening, which is, I once had a student many years ago, when she says, Rabbi, I'm an intellectual. Good, I said, but intellectuals read books, they don't come and listen to lectures. He says, no, I'm the intellectual, likes to listen. I said, that's entertainment. So she was insulted, which I've done before and probably will do again, and that was the end of that story. But you're reading. You're not just coming to a room and getting someone telling you words and you remember them. You know, it is incredibly inspiring. What did we say? I'm not exactly sure, but it was very inspiring. That's what I do for a living. I make sure no one knows what I said, but they all walk away thinking that was inspiring. Because if they remember, they may hold it against me. If they forget, but it was inspiring, it was great. But you read, you study, and that's how it's supposed to be. You know, when the Rebbe spoke about women learning Gemara, just like men do, this is what he meant. In the secular world, there's no difference between how boys, girls learn and girls learn. So at least it should be the same in Torah. At least it should be the same in Torah. The idea that women shouldn't learn because the Gemara says, Malam de Tiflis, there's no greater Tiflis than to think that you shouldn't teach women. They can learn mathematics, they can learn chemistry, they can learn yoga, they could learn all kinds of new age garbage. But Gemara and Chas v'Shalom, why? It says in the Gemara you're not allowed to learn Torah. Well, that's silly. Real learning is reading out of a book. And I make a lot of speeches. I get paid to make speeches. That's what I do. And it's not often that I come into a group of people in general, and women in particular. I teach men. I give a class to men. So I have a book. I come in, everybody holds books, and I read, and I translate, and I explain. But there's never an opportunity for them to review what I said. They don't go back to it and look at it a second time. They don't prepare. There's one guy who calls me up before Shabbos and says, Rabbi, what are you going to teach? I want to prepare. That's called learning. That's called learning. And learning is using your mind and developing your mind. And when you use your mind in Torah, you're immersing yourself in Kedusha. Torah is holy. And it makes you holy. And it changes you. So this is very meaningful to me. Honestly, it's very meaningful that the girls are getting together. I know this is not the only program like this, but this is one of those. Look, you're all here, right? You're all here. And someone gets the credit for this. Somebody made this happen. This is the 7th season, if I remember correctly, from 15 minutes ago. Maybe I had the numbers wrong. Right, so Crown Heights girls, young and younger, single, married, and to be married soon, are not just coming for an inspiration, they're coming to learn. And it's wonderful. You have time and you have a mind, use it. Use it for Kedusha. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I want to say this, and one of the great secrets about, from communities, Bechlal, but Lubavitchers especially, and Crown Heights especially, we're like funny people, you know, nobody knows what to do with us. Crown Heights needs hashpah, but how do you give hashpah to Crown Heights? Everybody in Crown Heights is the Rebbe. Everyone knows best. Everybody knows the best. You go into some neighborhood, people are happy to listen and learn. Over here, you want to make up, let me tell you what it should be about. But you want to teach me? Let me tell you what to teach me and how to teach me. And this is what you did wrong and you got it wrong. No, you got to do it this way. You know, there's a Gemara actually. But Ashmedai, Ben Yoda, the Gemara tells a story. There was a fellow, very famous man, a very big tzaddik. He was a very important general and advisor and chief of staff to Shlomo Melech. He was a big, big tzaddik. His name was Ben Yoda. And Shlomo Melech wanted to get a hold of Ashmedai. Ashmedai is the Melech Hashem, the king of the spirits. It's a whole Gemara. This is not a pure message. This is Mamash Gemara. In other words, this is actually a true story. There are true stories and good stories. This one's true. So Shlomo Melech had to find Ashmedai. Shlomo Melech sent me to look for him and to find him. How do you capture a shed? How do you capture a demon? How? He's half visible, half invisible. You put him in chains. But for a shed to tear a chain, there's no big deal. Unless you put along the chain the Eibishter's name. And if he tears the chain, he tears the Eibishter's name, which is a Chil Hashem. That's how he captured him. A whole long story. He got him. He got him shikir, he got drunk. He put him in chains. Said, don't rip the chain so quick. It's the Eibishter's name. And he schlepped this guy. Actually, I put him in the whole long story in the Gemara. But one of the details of the story was that they walked together. And a lot of very interesting things happened. And later, when he was sitting in prison in Yerushalayim, Ben Yoda went into him and he asked him the meaning of each one of the things that they observed. And one of them is, they came to a place where the people were very nice to them. You know what? I think I'm mixing up stories. This is a story of Yohan of Shua ben Levi. I'm sorry, but I'm going to continue telling the story like I did. They came to a place where the people were very nice. And they gave him a bracha that they should have only one leader. They came to a place where people were very obnoxious. And they gave him a bracha that they should all be leaders. So again, I'm mixing up two different stories in the Gemara. Chatasi Avisi Peshaiti. Rabbi Shimon Levi asked Yohan Navi, what is the significance of this? So he told him, but don't you understand? There's no more beautiful community when you have only one leader. And there's no more impossible community when everybody's a leader. You know that Ezra Weitzman was the first president of Israel or something like that, met the president of the United States, Truman, right? Harry S. Truman. And Truman says to Weitzman, Mr. Weitzman, I'm a president of a 200 million citizens. And Weitzman says to Truman, Mr. President, I'm a president of a 2 million presidents. So Crown Heights, the neighborhood full of presidents. But the truth of the matter is that from people, and Lubavitchers and Crown Heights are no different than anybody else. We all need inspiration. Everybody needs inspiration. Nobody's so holy and so perfect that they're selfish. Everybody needs inspiration. Even the Mashpiyim need inspiration. Asay l'charav, that everyone said applies to him. Asay l'charav. And we're all inspirable. We're all inspirable, like it says in the pasuk, right? Ani yeshena v'li b'yed. As a little boy, one of the first Maimarim I ever learned in Yiddish. Ani yeshena ich schlaf v'li b'yed. Or my heart is vachadik. I may be asleep, but my heart, my neshama is awake. So everybody can be inspired. Everybody needs to be inspired. And everybody can be inspired. But there's a very simple rule. You want to inspire people. Treat them with respect. Just like you do in shlichus. It's not so complicated. You want to get Crown Heights to do something, treat them the way you treat anybody else in any other place, nicely. That's the secret. Don't say, well, you're Lubavitch anyway, so what difference does it make? No. This works because somebody thinks about you and makes you comfortable and makes you happy to come and thinks about what you want and what's going to work for you, what's interesting to you, and that's why this program is successful. And I'm very happy to observe this at the point that we can share one more time. Yeah, it's not going to hurt anybody. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I got paid extra for that one. It would have been nice if everybody clapped, but I get it. It's getting corny. You get the point. This is beautiful, and it's really very, very special. And I hope it works. I hope everybody participates. I hope everybody learns. I hope everybody's inspired. I hope everybody grows. For those who need it, Mr. Shem, take with me. I'd find the shidduch toiv b'korev. It's a full-time, getting married is a full-time job. Let me tell you, I've been doing it for a long time. And somehow I'm still, I don't know how to do it, and I'm still working on it. But yeah, Baruch Hashem. It's the best, it's the hardest thing, that's why I said it, oh my girls, the hardest thing you'll ever do and the best thing you'll ever do. But Hashem has to help, Hashem, and then it's Matzah Isha, Matzah Tev, it's the best thing in the world. So Hashem should shed everybody shidduch. Somehow we'll figure out to make it special for Shnas Hakel. Somehow Hakel is special for Shidduchim. And the end of Shemitah is even more special. So it's got to happen now for everybody. And you should find peace and happiness and bracha. All the brachas that come from the bracha of a chuppah, of a chasana. And those brachas have a lot of headaches. Let me tell you, but it's worth it. It's all worth it. It's all worth it. The only thing in the world that's easy is things that are meaningless. Too many people are busy entertaining those meaningless things. We, Baruch Hashem, are still smart enough to know that we should invest in the meaningful, even though it's challenging. Okay, so I'm supposed to talk about Elul, right? So I'm supposed to open up the year, talk about Elul. So the first thing I want to do is, I I want to speak to you about the 5 Rosh Tevis Novel. The Rebbe has a letter where the Rebbe enumerates the 5 abbreviations for Elul: Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed. And he brings sources for each one from different Svarim and explains them in his very, very special and beautiful way. The 5 Rosh Tevis of Elul are Torah and Avodah and Gemilas Chasadim and Tshuva and Geula. That's what they are. The first one is Torah, the second one is Tefillah, the third one is Tzedakah, the fourth one is Tshuva, and the fifth one is Geula. And I'll go through each one. The Rosh Tevis of Elul, of Torah, is a pasuk in Pashas Mishpatim, that if a person kills somebody accidentally, he has to go to the cities of refuge, Ari Miklat. So the pasuk says, Ina liyodei v'samti loch, samti lecha mokim, asher yana, ina liyodei, if it happens to your hand, v'samti lecha mokim, I'll give you a place to which you should escape. Ina, Aleph, liyodei lamed, ve, with a vav, samti, is loch, is Rosh Tevis Elul. What does Ari Miklat do with Elul? So the Gemara says that the cities of refuge don't protect you only. They absorb you, they take you in. It's called klita, they take you in. And divrei Torah keltin. Torah is a miklat. Torah is a refuge. Torah is a place a person can run to, or run away to protect himself from the world. The Gemara says, one of the solutions is mashchei lebeis hamedrash. You step into the beis hamedrash and you study Torah. So there's the tshuva of Torah in Elul. Elul is a time of tshuva, a time of correcting the things that we need to correct for the course of the year. One of the methods of correction is limud Torah, is the study of Torah. In as much as Torah affects a klita, it takes us into a holy and a safe and a good space. This is number one. Number two is tefillah. Obviously, davening. The Rebbe always brings that it says in halachas for him that in Elul, even people who a whole year their primary occupation is Torah, when it comes to Elul, they learn less Torah and they daven more. Elul is a time, especially for avodas tefillah, to daven with more kavanah, with more messiness, more deliberateness, more patience, more words, yeah. And the Rosh Tevis, which has to do with tefillah, is the one that you know. Ani ledeidi v'deidi li is tefillah. Why? Because tefillah is a ladder, right? Sula mutzav artzav reisha magia shemayve. Tefillah is a ladder. It stands on the ground and it gradually climbs higher and higher and higher, right? It says in the holy Kabbalah books, till Baruch Shamar is Asiya, until Yishtabach is Yetzirah, and Bechaz Kishma is Bria, and Shpenashe is Atzilas. You climb up and then you climb back down. Davening is a ladder. And the ladders from the lower levels to the higher levels. Like Ani L'Daidi, we reach out to Hashem first, and then V'Daidi Li, the Eibishter responds to us. That's the consistency between davening and this pasuk. Ani L'Daidi, V'Daidi Li, Rosh Tevis Elul, in this context, refers to tefillah, davening. That's in Chayidishal, daven mebeser. You think more about the Eibishter, you think more about yourself, and you think more about all the things that need to be. The third Rosh Tevis Elul is tzedakah, and this is a pasuk from the Megillah Esther, right? That in Purim they made minhagim. When Mordechai and Esther made the Chag Purim, they made Yom Tov, they made minhagim. That you should read the Megillah, obviously, and that you should give shalach manis and matanos lavyein. So the pasuk says, Mishleach manis ish l'reyeyu matanis lavyein. Right? That's a pasuk in the Megillah. Mishlayach manes ish l'reyeyu. They should send food stuff to your friends. Umatanes avyerim, and give gifts to the 4 people. So the 4 words, ish l'reyeyu umatanes lo avyenim, is Rosh Tevis Elul. Mishlayach manes ish l'reyeyu aleph lamed. No, umatanes with a vav. Lo avyenim is Rosh Tevis Elul. So there's a tshuva of tzedakah, and this we all know, right? The Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya. All the Rabbeim always held, you want to fix problems today. In the olden days, they used to learn. In the not such olden days, they used to daven. We don't learn so good. We can't daven so good, but we could give. It says in Tanya that tzedakah saves us from all tzaddis, from all nishkin gewunschen zachen, and it's a keli for all good things. So Chaydish Elul, there's a tshuva of tzedakah. I'm giving tzedakah extra tzedakah. The fourth Rosh Tevis of Elul is tshuva. Rosh Tevis Elul is tshuva. This is a pasuk in Parshas. Which Parsha is it in? Parshas Nitzavim. That when Mashiach is going to come, the pasuk says, "Umal Hashem elekecha es levavcha v'tzlav zarecha l'avos Hashem elekecha." Umal, Hashem is going to circumcise. Hashem elekecha, God who is your God. Es levavcha ve'es levav is Rosh Tevis Elul. Umal Hashem alekacha. Hashem is going to circumcise. Es levavcha, es levav zarecha, your heart and the heart of your seed. You should love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So this is Rosh Tevis of El connected to tshuva. But there's two places in the Chumash where you have the word mila. Mila means to remove a blockage. The lower pasuk is umal ten. It's orlas levavechem. You have to remove the blockage of your own heart. And this pasuk is a higher level. Umal Hashem alekacha. The Eibishter is going to remove the blockage of es levavecha ve'es levav is Rosh Tevis Elul. So the way it's explained in Chassidus, this is actually a higher level of tshuva. The tshuva that we could do ourselves, we have to do ourselves. And this is the tshuva that Eibishter helps us do. And the last Rosh Tevis of Elul is Geula, right? Az Yosher Meshav Nei Yisrael. It's just Vayemru Leimer Ashira Lashem. Vayemru Leimer Ashira Lashem is Vav Lamed is first. Ashira Lashem is second. You reverse them. Ashira Lashem Vayemru Leimer is Rosh Tevis Elul. It's the first pasuk of the Az Yashir. Az Yashir Meshav Nei Yisrael Es Ashir Vayemru Leimer Ashira Lashem is also Rosh Tevis Elul. You have to just reverse the Vav and the Lamed and the Aleph and the Lamed. And of course, you know what the Gemara says, that the word Az Yashir in Hebrew doesn't mean Az Yashir means then he will sing. Doesn't mean then he did sing. In correct grammar, it should be Az Shor. If someone sang in the past, Az Shor, then he sang with Az Yashir. Then he, so of course, some people say Yashir is Lashon Hoive, present tense. But the Gemara says that this is Lashon Asir. Az Yashir, Mashiach is going to come, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to sing. Az Yashir, Meshav Netzarai, the Gemara says, Taisvis, Rebbe brings from Taisvis, that Mashiach comes, Meshav and Imam, that the biggest tzaddikim of Tchias HaMesim, right away, they bring a eye for this pasuk. That as soon as Mashiach comes, we're going to sing Shira, and Moshe Rabbeinu is going to sing with us. And Vayemru Leimer Ashira Lashem and Tevis Elul. So Elul is the word Geula, to go out of all limitations, right? Include the limitation of being single. You don't know, there's never greater freedom than being single, but somehow we know we should be married. But okay, we'll get to that bridge, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. You can find the good Shidduch, we'll find the Yiddish Nachsidish Shtub, and then figure out how to be free. Okay. I'm terrible, man. Okay. Shay, does anybody want to ask me any questions on what I said so far? Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the other issue, which I meant to talk about. I actually meant what I just said, but I don't see so good. So if you want to speak.
What was the pasuk for Torah?
For Torah, it was Ina in Pashas Mishpatim. And for Torah, for Tefillah, it's Anina Dei Dei Gili. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyah b'dvarim.
Amen.
Anybody else?
And the pasuk for Geula? Sorry.
Say it. Oz Yashir Meishav Nei. So you know by heart, right? Vayomru Leimer Ashira Lashem. But the Vav and the Lamed is has to be reversed. You understand? Yep. Anybody else? Okay, I'm warning you, I'm going on to something else. More information, more data. Okay. So what's Elul? What's Elul? Depends who you are and where you live, right? In some communities, start being afraid of the Eibishter's wrath. He's going to come down on you and he's going to punish you because he's got a list of every Aveda you ever did. And you have to make lists of all your Avedas. You have to start doing tshuva. You have to go ask people Mechila. Those are, by the way, those are good things to do, just for the record. But there's a lot of fear, right? Elul is fearful. Tishrei is afraid. I'm afraid of the Eibishter. And in our community, everyone's hunky-dory. Chabad's not afraid. One of the big problems being in the Lubavitch is you're not afraid of the Eibishter. It's very interesting. I think if we were afraid of the Eibishter, a lot of stuff would be easier. But it would be terribly depressing, huh? Made up by Eibishter. This is a true story. This actually happened. My father told this to me, that when my sister, my older sister, Rebbetzin Majeski, formerly from Benos Menachem, when she was a little girl, she was my older sister. So she was the oldest. So my father spent so much time with her. So he told her the story from the Baal Shem Tov. That when Baal Shem Tov was a little boy, his father told him, fear nothing except for the Eibishter himself. Don't be afraid of anything. So my sister looked up at my father and said, why, Tati, is Hashem scary? I didn't know I should be afraid of the Eibishter. A little Lubavitcher girl. Some people are actually afraid of the Eibishter. Oh no, what's he going to do? We're not afraid of the Eibishter. And you shouldn't be afraid of the Eibishter because the Eibishter is not anything to fear. we should fear ourselves. That's what we should fear. We should be afraid of ourselves. I'm very afraid of myself. I'm terribly afraid of myself. A lady tells me one day, a woman told many years ago, Ma, a boy said, Ma, you don't trust me. She said, I don't trust myself. How should I trust you? Ma, I don't trust me either. That's what there is to be afraid of. Not the Abish, the Yitzhahara. That's me. Anyway, but not a little bit we should be afraid of the Abish. We're not afraid it's going to punish us, but we're ashamed. We don't want to disappoint. Yeah, we don't want to disappoint. And the same is true with the Rebbe. We're not afraid of the Rebbe. We don't want to disappoint. But in our world, in Hasidus, what's Elul? What's Elul? King in the field. King in the field. It's a great idea, this king in the field. Why? Because all I got to do is say hello to the king. I don't do anything. Of course, the king is in the field for a reason. But the king in the field is mamish moedendik, right? So first of all, you know the story that Meir Abu Chatzira, he's unfortunately Allah Shalom, Meir Abu Sarah, he had a diet that I don't know if he made it or if he followed it. He made a living encouraging people to eat the diet. I knew people had the diet. They mamish ate bird food. It's terrible. The largest thing they ate, I think, was a date. It was the seeds, all of these, the seeds that was the diet. But he made panasa selling people this diet. It was healthy. I don't know what it was supposed to do for you, make you into super people. But this is what he did. He sold this diet. But it was a chassid through and through. So he told the Rebbe that he's going to California to speak to a group of people about his diet, macrobiotics, I think it's called. So the Rebbe wrote back an answer. He should speak about Melech Basada, the king in the field. And he's thinking to himself, half the people there are goyim. And the half that are Yidden are interested in seeds, not interested exactly in the Mebishtin and Elul and Tishrei and Kippur and Kesef. So he said, how am I going to talk about the king in the field? These people come to hear about diet, king in the field. So he decided he's Pashat going to do it without any apologizing and any explaining. So he got up to make his speech. And about 10 minutes into his speech, ladies and gentlemen, I must pause. I must pause for a moment. I think it's very important for all of you to know that the king is in the field. And he went right there. He continued his selling his seeds. And then about 15 minutes later, I just want to remind you again, you shouldn't forget, the king is in the field. And when he was done his speech, everybody was so excited about the king in the field. Forgot about the seeds. The king, they don't know what it means, but the king is in the field. Everyone heard, the king is in the field. I'm sure there's many, many wonderful miracles that came from that, but that's what the Rebbe told the king in the field. Said, okay, the king is in the field. Let's explain it. King is in the field. Everybody understands the king is in the field. But I want to tell you something about the king in the field. The Alter Rebbe uses the marshal of the king in the field twice. The first time he uses the marshal of the king in the field is printed in Likutei Torah, which is printed in 1848. 1848 is almost 200 years ago. Yeah, 175 years ago. Likutei Torah was printed. Likutei Torah is a Maimer Anila Deidi. In that Maimer Anila Deidi, you have the marshal of the king in the field. But there's one more place where the Alter Rebbe brings the marshal of the king in the field that was printed in the last few years, last 40 years. It was not. No one knew it existed. The Rebbe knew it existed, but we didn't. And more recently, the Rebbe printed all the Maimarim with the Alter Rebbe, and he printed this Maimer as well. And you have a new marshal, a new form of the marshal of the king in the field. But they're very different. They're very, very different. How are they different? Pardon me. Because when you look at the king in the field in Likutei Torah, you don't like him so much. The king in the field in Likutei Torah is not so much fun. Why? Because in Likutei Torah it says that the king is in the field. But the field is the domain of Beinanim. The city is the domain of tzaddikim. The desert is the domain of Rishoyim. And the field is the domain of Beinanim. And the king comes to the field and he meets the Beinanim. What about the rest of us? We don't meet the king in the field because they don't let us into the field. So again, you probably didn't learn the Maimon. If you did, you know. Most of the Maimon is not about the king in the field. Most of the Maimon is what about the people stuck in the desert? That's us. That's me. The people who are lower than Madrega is Beinani, the king's not coming to the desert. So a whole system, you got to do tshuva, and you have to have Rachmanis, and Hashem has Rachmanis, don't ask. So if you look at that Maimon, the first Pedic, Taka speaks about the king in the field. And the second Pedic says, wait. The king is in the field for those who live in the field. Who's in the field? Just the Beinanim. Just if you're a Beinani, okay, yeah. No, we learned Tanya, right? You know how terrible that is, yeah? So if you go back 100 years, even 50 years, the king in the field is not such an exciting mashal. But now we have a new maimed. Same mashal with different details. But the king comes into the field and he says, all the people from the desert, they can come into the field with him. And there's no rules. It doesn't say change your shirt or take a shower or brush your teeth. Wherever you are, the king is in the field and everybody is invited, including the people who were in the desert. And in the printed Maimen Lukatatera, it says, the king is not, you're not going to meet the field, the king in the desert. You have to do tshuva, it's a whole Maimen with many, many details. It's all about tshuva. And now they found the Ksav, the Alter Rebbe said it, but it's only been printed in our generation with a very different mashal. So if you know the Rebbe's Maimed from Tafshir Chavav, the edited Maimed, the Rebbe brings that other version. You can look in the footnote, he's mitzayin to that other version. Say, king in the field's a great idea. Why? Because I don't have to be a Beinani. You understand? The king is in the field for everybody else. I'll get you in a minute. Wait, I'll get you in a minute, I promise. So now, along comes our Rebbe, and he makes the king in the field the most positive thing in the world. You have a problem? Don't worry, it's Elul. The king is in the field. Now you're supposed to say, yeah, but the king may be in the field, but I'm in the closet. You know what I'm saying? What do you mean? Call Yisrael, anybody who wants. The Rebbe took, if you want to explain it in scholarly terms, the Rebbe took this other version of the Malach Basad Moshe, which is not the one, the Likutei Torah, and made it front and center, that the king in the field is not conditional. In the Likutei Torah, the Melech is Basade for Anshe Sadeh. Look the Maimed up. You don't believe me. I always tell my students, never ever believe one word I say. Look it up. You guys are learners. You'll learn the Maimed. You'll see at the beginning of Perek Beis, V'hine Yesh, Ir, Sadeh, Midbar. There's a city, there's a field, and there's a desert. And the city is for tzaddikim, the field is for beinim, and the midbar is for where all the action is, where all the fun is. You understand? All the confusion is. But in this other Maimed is different. The Rebbe made Melech Basada unconditional. The king in the field means Hashem loves us. That's it. That's what it means. Now you want to ask me a question?
No, I just want to slow down.
What? I'm talking slow. I'm not talking fast. You should hear me talk fast. I'll try my best. It's gonna be hard, but I'll do what I can. Okay, L'chaim. Okay, now let me give you an insight. I want you to think about this for a moment. I gave a Shir Shabbos to some men in the morning. In the museum, I have a Shir Shabbos. There's a women's section, by the way, also, but it's a Shir officially for men. And
Shut your phone. Shut your phone. Shut the phone, please.
so we talked about the Melech Basad that came up in the class, king in the field. So we talked about the Eibishter. We talked about the Eibishter. What do you say about the Eibishter? What do you know about the Eibishter, huh? He's not always responsive. He doesn't do what you tell him. He has his own agenda. When he wants to do something, he surprises you, never gives you any notice. He's a funny Eibishter, right? The Eibishter does whatever he wants. You talk to him, he ignores you. He heard you, and sometimes he surprises you by actually giving what you ask, but he's so unpredictable, you know. The worst kind of husband, you know what I'm saying? Men are pretty bad, but he's like really, communication's really not so good with Eibishter, yeah? But there's one thing about this Eibishter. You can't divorce him. There's no other Eibishter. Finish. You can't create another one. You can't create another Eibishter. So I said this in the class. And so one of the men of this year responded right away. He says, and he's stuck with us. He is stuck with us. He is stuck with us. The Eibishter can do whatever he wants. But the Eibishter, when you have we live in the age of throwaway, right? You have a broken dish, you throw it in the garbage, get a new one. You have a car, it's a couple of years old. It's perfectly good, but there's a new model, you throw it away, you get a new one. You have an Apple phone, you pay twice what it's worth because somehow you feel very smart. The only person smart is the person who sold you the phone. And there's a new computer, so you spend so many more dollars than you need to spend, you get the new one. Yeah, you throw it away. The Eibush doesn't throw anything away. The Eibush doesn't throw anything away. The Eibush made a world. And after the Mabel, he made a promise. Hashem made a promise. He's never destroying his world again. And after the Egel, the Eibush made a promise He's never getting rid of the Jewish people, ever, right? And one of my favorite stories in the whole Tanakh, it's really a Gemara more than it's a story in the Tanakh, is that the Satan, you ever heard of the Satan? Yeah, Satan. He's not our friend, the Satan. The Satan has a meeting with the Eibishter. As I said in the Gemara, it's based on Psukim in the Sefer Iyov, the book of Job. Sefer Iyov. The Satan meets the Eibishter. The Eibishter knows his Satan, what's going on, how's life? He says, well, I'm busy. I got a lot to do. A lot of people that I can harass and bother and intimidate. He says, no, what do you think of Iyov? He says, Iyov's got a good life. He has a lot of money, he has a lot of power, a lot of respect, a lot of children, a lot of wealth. And the Eibishter says, okay, test him. And let's see what happens. But don't hurt him. Then test him and hurt him. Just don't kill him. That's 2 different years. And Iyov has every imaginable tzara. The Gemara says about Iyov was a goy. Iyov is a goy. And Hashem gave him terrible tzaras. The same kind of tzaras he gave Avraham Avinu. And he finally platzed. He blasphemed. He couldn't hold. He platzed. And then the Gemara says something incredible. Sotam l'shem shamayim niskaven, which means that when the Satan told the Eibishter, test him and see what happens, the Satan did it to protect us. The Satan said to the Eibishter, test Iyov to protect us. Why? Because we were doing what Jews do best, being obnoxious, being obviously difficult. And the Eibishter says, I'm thinking to throw him away and start over. And the Satan said, start over? Where are you going to get another Avraham Avinu? Where are you going to get another Avraham Avinu? We can get a person to pass 10 tests. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tests. 10 tests.
And those are just targets.
Those are real tests. Real tests. So what do you mean, Iyov? He's a good guy. Satan says, let me show you. Let me show you. And the Satan tests him, and Iyov blasphemes. So when you read these 2 shtikelach Gemara, what comes out of it basically is the Satan gives the Eibishter a guarantee. The Satan, gives the Eibishter a guarantee. There will never be another Avraham Avinu. The Eibishter says to Satan, let's start over. And the Satan says, no, it's not happening. I'm the Satan. Let me tell you, I messed with Avraham Avinu and I failed. I'm telling you, there will never be another Avraham. So the Eibishter is stuck with us. That's the deal. We're stuck with him, and he's stuck with us. And that's Melech Basad. It's very important for the Eibishter that we should be good. You know why? Because we're his. And there's no change. That's not going to be traded in ever. We're still here. We've been here. We're going to be here. We're an eternal people. You understand? The king comes into the field because he loves us. And this may sound a little bit bad. The king comes into the field because he loves himself. He wants that we should be good because we're his. This is all part of Melech Basad. It's all part of Melech Basad. So I'm a teacher, as you may or may not know. Where am I? You're making fun of me. I'm very sensitive. Anyway, over the course of my years as a teacher, I've developed certain ideas. And one of the ideas that I've developed, I have a few versions of it, by the way, in case you don't know about my website. My website is insidechassidus.org. I am ashamed of self-promote. I'm sorry, I have no cards. But please ask Super Chassidus. I forgot what I got to stop. Haven't even started. Oh, okay. What do you want to tell me? Oh, okay. Oh, your permission grant. But the name of the organization, Living Chassidus. In case you don't know about my website is insidechassidus.org, and I have what I'm about to tell you. I've already said many times before. I have a number of versions on my site about it as well. I developed a Mashal Melech Basad, and I'm going to say this before I start. Okay, I'm going to be telling you a story, beginning to the end. Some of the story is very known to you because it's in Memorei Chassidus. Some of the story is not so well known to you because it's not exactly written in Memorei Chassidus. And some of the story is not at all written in Memorei Chassidus. I just decided to make the story go further. So separate fact from fancy. You understand? The beginning of the story says in the Maimed, the middle of the story sort of says in the Maimed, the rest of the story I'm writing into a Maimed. You understand? I've developed the Div Malabas. I want to share with you a story of the king in the field so that you'll hear the context of the king in the field. The Melech Basad and Mashal, besides all the wonderful things I said until now, has a purpose. It has a thrust. It has a spearhead, a direction. And I want to tell you the story that will help you appreciate the real significance, if you will, of the Mashal of Melech Basad. Okay, so I'm starting from the beginning. There's a king, and the king lives in a palace. But a king is also a governor. He's the head of state, right? Which means the king doesn't just sit in his palace and eat nice food and wear nice clothing and visit nice places. He's responsible for his subjects. They give him all of this wealth, all of this honor, and he belongs to them. He's responsible for them. And if he's a real king, he has all these fancy clothing and fancy stuff. He doesn't really enjoy it because he's so fadaygit, he's so concerned with his subjects. And of course, the king is concerned with all of his subjects. Not just the best ones and the friendliest, but the worst and the most antagonistic, right? Every member of his country is his concern. And he has to run the country. He doesn't do things, but he has to get other people to do things for him. That's his job. And the king has the big picture. There's a bunch of ministers. Each minister is a part of a different department. Each one wants to get more for his department. The king sees all the different departments. He sees the interface between all the different departments, and he knows the balance and how much you have to give to defense and how much you give to education, how much you give to infrastructure, and how much you give for research, how much you give for this, that, and the other, right? The king has to keep it all together. In addition, the king also knows that in his country, there are people who are very sophisticated, very smart, very educated, very rich. And then you have people who are not so smart, not so educated, not so rich. But the irony is, the funny thing about it is that the people in this country who are on the lowest levels actually do the most important thing, literally the most important thing. They're the farmers. They don't even live in the city. They live outside this. They live in the fields, the farms. They're very simple people. They live materially very simply, but they literally feed the whole country. They feed, the bread comes from the farms. If the farmers don't farm, you can't eat jewelry. You understand? You can't eat computers. You can't eat diamonds. You have to eat bread. So the people who are, to a great extent, on the lowest end of the totem pole are, ironically, are strangely, incredibly critical to the sustainment, to the sustenance of this civilization. Because if they don't make wheat, which is made into bread, all the smart people are going to starve. So the king is acutely aware that he has a class of people who are not so smart, not so sophisticated. They're not so troublemaker either. They live out in the villages and the fields. And they provide the most important service to the people. Now, the ministers who are busy worrying about the big important stuff forgot about the farmer. They just know every week wheat is delivered to the city. But the king doesn't forget. Because the king knows that the wheat is not coming there spontaneously. Somebody had to plant that wheat and grow that wheat and care about that wheat. And he's planting far more wheat than he needs for himself and for his family, because he's planting wheat for the whole civilization, for all the big people in the fancy schmancy houses who are busy making jewelry. So the king visits the farms. That's why he goes to the field, you see? Like I told you before, God is stuck with us, we're not just stuck with him. The farmers may be very simple, but they're very, very important. The king visits the field. Now understand, the king would never ever visit the lawyers' conference or the doctors' conference, because the king would sit with the lawyers and the doctors. They would all start to think that tomorrow they could also be the king, because they're all so smart and they have such big egos. And every one of them is going to tell the king how they know better than him how to run the country. The king is not afraid of the farmers. They have nishtufel seichel. They're not so smart. He shows up in the field. But he doesn't come with a whole tararam. He doesn't come with an entourage with trumpets and a fanfare and a parade and so on. He finds a pair of overalls. Right? They all have overalls that are full of grass stains. King has overalls that don't have any grass stains. Or maybe he has them pre-stained today. You buy fancy clothes. You buy a brand new pair of clothing and you make it look old. When them is men are mensch. And the king shows up in the field all by himself. Doesn't come with a big tumult. And the farmers are doing their thing. They're buying, they're selling, they're planting, they're harvesting. And they see a new face, a naya farmer. But they look at his overalls, they see it doesn't exactly fit. It doesn't fit so good. He's not so comfortable. And they look closer and they realize that they don't know who this man is. He doesn't live any place near here. You know who he is? Never met him. And somebody recognized him. That's the king. Nah, king wouldn't come to us. Who are we? No, it's a king. Yeah, but kings are all dressed up and fancy and protected and unavailable. No. Anyway, Some people decide it is the king, some people decide it's not the king, some people decide it's worth it. One guy gets the courage to go to the king and say, Shalom Aleichem. And he says, I'm not sure, but I think you're the Melech. He says, yeah, I am the Melech. And the Melech greets him and says to him, don't be afraid. What's on your mind? What are you thinking? And this guy tells the king about his goats and his chickens and his great successes in the harvest, his great failure. The king listens, and the king shows interest, and the king gives him good advice. He's a smart guy. And then another person approaches the king, and then the whole neighborhood knows the king is in the field. So you have different kinds of farmers. Smarter ones and not so smart. They're all not too smart, but some are even less smart than the others. You understand? The really smart farmers tell their wives, or they come with their wives, say, you know what, we're going to suspend the farming. As long as the king is here, we're going to spend the time with the king. He's not going to stay here for long. The king is here, we should wait. We should be with the king. What do you have the king? First of all, to be next to him. Second of all, he has so much wisdom. And he has so much love. Maybe he'll do something for us. And then you have the people say, listen, that's very good that the king is here, but I got work to do. I'll go on weekends, free nights and weekends. When I have nothing else to do, I'll hang out with the king. And then the really simple farmers say, wait a minute, is he demanding that we should spend that time with him? Is he saying that if we don't come to him, no, you want? I'm too busy for this king. I don't speak his language. He's too fancy. He eats steak and I eat kasha. I can. So you have different kinds of farmers. And some farmers stop their whole life and hang out with the king. And other farmers come when they have time, and other farmers don't go at all. Anyway, the king stay in the field. And is there a bottle of water? That's seltzer, yeah? That works also. Or whatever you have. One day the king's going home, he spent whatever time, if he's going home, I thank you very much. And he turns around to the farmer and says, I'm going back to town and to my job and to my palace. But I just want you to know like this. When you come into the city, it's going to be a big parade. By the parade, I'm going to look very different than I look now. I'm going to put on all my purple garments, be surrounded by all these people. There's going to be a big fanfare and pomp and circumstance and celebration. And you're not going to be able to get close to me. But I just want you to know this. When I get to the palace gates, nobody from the city is going to be allowed into the palace. But if you wish, you can come in. I was with you in the field. You come with me into the palace. Here, the farmers here, the king says, I hung out with you. Now come hang out with me. Because there's going to be a parade. By the parade, everything's going to be very formal. And you're going to have to behave, not like in the field where I was wearing your clothing. You're going to have to put on mine. End of the parade, I'm going to my palace. I'm not going to let the people from the city into the palace, but if you wish, you can join me in the palace. So all the farmers, the ones who spent the whole 30 days with the king, and the ones who spent the weekends with the king, and the one who had no time for the king, get in line. And the king changes his clothes, and they sound the trumpet, and all of a sudden they're not allowed to be next to him. There's so many people, guards, and blocking, and they get in line with everybody else, and the whole city marches behind the king, back to the palace. The king gets to the palace gates, and all the big chachamim, the lawyers and the doctors and the professionals and the executives and the machers. And the king says, you stop here. But the farmers come into the palace. It's called peasants in the palace. You understand? There's the king in the field and there's the peasants in the palace. Now, what happens to the peasants in the palace? They make a step and something falls and breaks. You look at something, a picture falls off the wall. In the palace, you have to behave with a lot of etiquette. The way you walk is measured. The way you talk is measured. Certainly, the way you eat your food is measured. And they're farmers. And they're in the palace. And they have to figure out how to live a life in the palace. They have no preparation. Nobody taught them. It's on the job. They break. A girl told me, a Machachana girl told me, before she was frum, she went on a date with a guy. And they went to visit some museum. And he was smoking a cigarette. And he dropped a little ash into a vase. And it cracked. It was 2,000 years old. How do you pay for it? 2,000. So that's when the peasants come into the palace. When I think of peasants in the palace, I think of that story. Imagine, it's a vase, an out of vase. It looks terrible. I would never have my own house, but it's worth millions of dollars. It's 2,000 years old. How do farmers know how to treat? The walls are bedecked with the nicest art. The floor is like you sink into it. And they don't know how to behave in the palace. And they break things and they spill things. And the king is with them, They're expected to conform to palatial life. They're expected to mamish behave, to dress different, to walk. All of a sudden, they feel like they're married in a straitjacket. They have to all behave. I say, you got the joke eventually. But they figure it out, and the king has raised them into his world. But in the palace, the king doesn't sit around and schmooze. No. The king is busy, and the king's words are measured, and the king's involvement with them is as if they're big officers, as if they're people in a position to appreciate what it means to be this close to a king on the highest levels. And it takes them a while, it takes them a little time. But they figure it out. They slowly conform to being so precise in their actions and in their attitudes and in their behavior that they slowly acclimate to the palatial life. And this is like really amazing. The king came to the field, that was cool, but this is like really unbelievable. They're eating royal food, they're sleeping on royal beds, they're wearing royal clothing, and they're behaving like royalty. And when they finally figure it out, they finally got it. The king calls a meeting of all the farmers. He says to the farmers, now I want you to go back to your farms and make bread for the next season. And the farmers say, what? Adonenu HaMelech, our master the king, we like this. We want to stay right here. We didn't ask you to visit us in the field. We certainly didn't ask you to invite us into the palace. This is a lot more fun. This is a lot more meaningful than being a farmer making bread. And the king says to the farmers, you don't understand. You think you're not important. But you should know you're the most important thing in the whole kingdom. If you don't make bread, I starve. And my going to you and my bringing you to me was to make you appreciate what you do, not what I do, what you do. So Tzeitzchem L'Sholem. Go back to your farms, your fields, and your villages, and do what farmers do. And know that I'm aware that what you do is so important. So the farmers say, but they go. They leave the palace, but they're not in a rush to go home. When they go out of the palace, there's a park. The palace is a park. And they collect, and they sit down, and they start to think about what just happened. 40 days. 40 days. The king came to them, and he raised them up to him. And instead of going home, they start to celebrate. And they celebrate for a week. They celebrate the fact that the king knows about them. They celebrate the fact that the king cares about them. They celebrate the fact that they matter to the king, that they matter. And they sing and they dance and they fabreng and they sing and they dance until they're exhausted. And they can't dance anymore. So they plop. And they rest. And when they're resting, something very interesting happens. Now listen carefully. This is a very important part of the story. So very interesting happens. They start to argue. They got smart, right? They have opinion that argue. What's the greatest thing? Huh? Is the greatest thing that the king loves us? Or is the greatest thing that we do something that the king needs? I'll ask the question a second time, yeah? What's the greatest thing? That the king showed us all this love and attention, or that the king needs us? And they conclude that the greatest thing that they have from the relationship to the king is what they give him. So they dance a second time. But there's a very, very big difference between the first dancing and the second dancing. The first dancing is celebrating the king loves them. And the second dancing is celebrating their job, their obligation, their responsibility, how what they do is important. And then they go home. And they go back to their farms, and they become farmers again, and they live like farmers, and then a while later, the king shows up in the field, and the cycle repeats itself. You get it? You understand, yeah? So some of this I made up, but the inyan in all of this is emes. The inyan of all this is emes. One of the greatest questions in Judaism is, do the special days serve the ordinary days, or do the ordinary days serve the special days? Are the weekdays about Shabbos, or is about Shabbos about the weekdays? It's a good question, ain't it? What's the answer? Tell me what you want to say, and I'll say it. L'chaim. Huh? Okay, that's sitting on the fence. But come on, take a plunge. The answer, according to Chassidus, there's different shittas. There's no question that Shabbos serves the weekdays, and that Yom Tov serves the regular months. Why? Because Nesava Kadosh Baruch Hu Liyis Baruch Dib Tachtonim. The Eibishter made us. We're the farmers, and we make bread for the whole Seder Shtalshus. It says in the Midrashim that not only the Malachim eat what the Malachim eat our Torah mitzvahs, the Koyach of the Eibishter eat our Torah mitzvahs. And the Medrash, quote my Mordechai Chassidus. That the Yidden are called Yisrael, Mefanesim, Laviyim, Pashamayim. Yidden provide parnasa to the Eibishter, whatever that means. And Elul and Tishrei is a process. It has to do with tshuva, it has to do with getting our acts together. But in addition, it has to do with a very special meeting with the Eibishter. And the whole story of Elul and Tishrei is in this special. The king comes to the field. The king comes to the field, number one, because he knows that there's nobody more important than us. The Shamas Begufim. The action is here, not in Gan Eden. Understand that. And number two, like we said before, there's not going to be another. He's not trading us in. Does see us. Well, we are. Hashem is stuck with us, just like we're stuck with him. This is the way it is. The Eibishter has to deal with us. Nisham, us. 2022. Tov Shin Pei Bei. This is what the Eibishter has, for better or for worse. So the king comes to the field, Melech Basada, and he lifts us up. Then comes the Amnei Roim, Aseres Metshuva. Aseres Metshuva is peasants in the palace. If you look in Halacha, and in Sifrei Musa, and in Chassidus, you'll find that it says that it's legitimate, it's appropriate, it's correct to take on Chumris during Aseres Metshuva that a whole year you don't keep. If you decide to be extra firm about something, the examples I've brought in Shulchan Aruch is in places where it's hard. That the Aseres Metshuva, people are careful about Pas Yisrael. Even a whole year, they're not so careful. Today in America, to get Pas Yisrael is not a big deal. But the shaila becomes, if you care about Pas Yisrael, you're a hypocrite. For 10 days, Pas Yisrael, you go back to Pas Yisrael. What's the teretz? The peasants are in the palace. And it's when you're in the palace, you have to act like the palace. So it's legitimate for a yid to take on a chumrah that during Aseres Metshuva he's going to keep. And when Aseres Metshuva are going to pass, he's going to stop keeping. It's not considered a hypocrite. Why? Because peasants are in the palace. And when you're in the palace, you figure out how to behave like you're supposed to behave in the palace. And it says in Chassidus, in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, that on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol would make a cloud of smoke, a cloud of potatoes, a smoke called anana potatoes. That the cloud of smoke of the potatoes, this becomes the schach of the sukkah. As you know, Kibasukah is shafti as b'nei Yisrael by Tzii Eisa B'Eretz Mitzrayim, that the reason we have the mitzvah sukkah is because the Yidden left Mitzrayim, they sat in the sukkah. So one of the opinions in the Gemara, the opinion which is more well known, it means the cloud, Anani Yakovet. So the cloud of potatoes, Yom Kippur becomes the schach of the sukkah, which is also a cloud. What's the difference? In the sukkah, it's simcha. And in Yom Kippur, it's yirah. What are we celebrating on Sukkot? That Hashem loves us. On Sukkot, we celebrate that Hashem loves us. Now, I want to add, in the Gemara, there's really a proof to this whole mashal of Melech Basada that I gave. So in the Gemara. What does the Gemara say? That Simchas Beis HaSheva, right? Simchas Beis HaSheva was one of the ones. The Gemara says, Michal Weiss, Simchas Beis HaSheva, Simchas Yamav. Simchas Beis HaSheva was it was the biggest simcha in the world. It was an incredible simcha. And by Simchas Beis HaSheva, you know what happened? Most people stood and watched because they were afraid to misbehave that God's going to zap them. You understand? Whoever is up there zapping. Who participates in the Sheva? Only the biggest tzaddikim, Chasidim and Shemais. The holiest Yidden danced, and everybody else, men and women. The women were on the balcony, and the men were below, would stand and watch and clap. And they would sing. What did they sing? The Gemara says what they sang. The tzaddikim used to say, Ashrei Yalduseinu Shalei Bisha Ziknasein. Fortunate was our youth that did not embarrass our adult years. The Bali Tshuva used to say, Ashrei Ziknaseinu Shekipra Yalduseinu. Fortunate is our senior years that atoned for our junior years. What comes next? Anybody know? Elu va'elu oimrim ashrei misha lechata u'misha chata yashu. But that's where the song comes from. It's a Gemara. Elu, the tzaddikim and Elu va'elu. The tzaddikim, the Bali Tshuva all said it's always better not to do an avera, but no matter what, you can always do tshuva. So Simchas Beis Hashiyeva, what were they happy about? They were happy about Yom Kippur. They were celebrating. So this proves that Sukkot and Yom Kippur are not just coincidentally connected. There's a hishtalshus, there's an evolution, right? Then it's Shmini Atzeres. Shmini Atzeres, you stop. Shmini Atzeres is a boring day. You get to sleep. Shmini Atzeres, I don't like to sleep. Shmini Atzeres, stop. And when you stop, in Loshna Chasidus, something hits you. Shmini Atzeres, when you stop, something hits you. What hits you? What hits you is it's very, very nice that the Eibishter loves me. But it's so much more meaningful that the Eibishter Kvayochel needs me. And then comes Simchas Torah. You understand? That's a difference between the Simchas Sukkos and the Simchas Torah and in between Shmini Atzeres. The Simchas Torah is celebrating what we do Kvayochel. And this is funny to say, but this is how it is. What we do, so to speak, as if the Eibishter needs us. And then the Yaakov Chadake. The farmers go back home to their regular life. It says in Chassidus that to stay from, it's not enough to have a Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Simchas Torah. You need to daven every day. You need to put on tefillin every day. You need to keep kosher every day. You do mitzvahs, ma'asos every day. That's making bread as a farmer. And that's the story of Melech Basad. That's the story of Melech Basad. Understand that it sounded good because I embellished, but I didn't make it up. I'm not such a smart guy. Chadish Bashaf. What I told you is written in my Morim, but it gives you a real sense of the Teisha Shchei Shalom. We're actually having the speech before it starts. Usually it's like Yom Kippur time, you're giving the speech, but it's kind of late. The Teisha Shchei Shalom. It's time to have this drasha. Melech Basad is a process. It's about tshuva. Tshuva means about strengthening our relationship with the Eibush. It means about not doing averis. It means about correcting the ones we did. It means not doing them anymore. But it's also very much about our connection to Hashem. Our connection to Hashem. And the whole from Rosh Chodesh till Simchas Torah and beyond is a journey. And the highest level of that journey is the recognition. Not only does the Eibishter like me and need me and want me and so on and so forth, but there's something I can do for him. If I state. But in the meantime, he has a lot of things that we need from him. And we expect him to deliver and not to wait till Simchas Torah or till Rosh Hashanah. He can deliver today. David doesn't have the same problems we have. He just has to, he's busy on his supercomputer, whatever he's busy with. He's not letting anybody know what he's up to. Let him aim off at Alamo. You know what I'm saying? He shouldn't open up his books. We would really be very depressed. But you just bring Mashiach. It's okay. We don't need any information. Just bring Mashiach. Don't explain us why, where, what now. Just bring Mashiach. Anyway, I want to give a bracha again to success for this program. It's amazing that you're all here. And the only bracha I can give is that they should grow bigger and bigger. There should be many copycats. To all of us and have the good Shleimer. Amen. Okay, just know that this is year Shnas Shemitah. It's a Shemitah year. And it's also a leap year. And next year is Hakel. And the Gemara actually predicts that Mashiach comes in Mitzvah Shvius between Shemitah and Hakel. And I think it's especially so when it's Ibayar. Ibayar is the tshuva. It's a leap year, this leap year. So it's time for Mashiach to come. Amen. Okay, good Nacht, alle Kinder, seid Masliach. Okay. Yeah, be well.
One more second. We have a living Chassidus tradition.
Okay.
That we take a selfie. Are you okay being in a picture with us?
As long as I don't have to move.
You do not have to move. Me, on the other hand, I have to get a longer arm.
Okay. There's a way of getting a longer arm, you know?
I know. I did it. Everyone wants to say cheese. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Oh, wait, that's something. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Yay. I guess I've done that. Oh, there we go. I learned. Thank you.
Done? Okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Rabbi Paltiel.
Good job.